Don't give fees.
All right, welcome everybody to Youth Voices Dialogue Series 2023. And in the house, I got a number of people. So my friends, probably the guests are wondering, are we just seeing photos or do we need to connect the faces to everything? So turn your cameras on, everybody. Nice to see you, Elias. Nice to see you, Godwin. Nice to see you, John. Charlene, nice to represent the ladies. Barak, nice to see you. George, I know you are somewhere. Maybe turning on your camera might be really good. But yes, really nice to have you guys on board. So really quick, guys, quick introduction. Who are we and where are we tuning in from? Just really quick.
Yes, thank you so much, Peter and colleague and viewers. I'm called Mahmoud Alias. I'm from Uganda, in the northern part of the country, in the city of Arua. And I work with the Ministry of Health at the point of entries. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Elias, all the way from Uganda. I see. Godwin, maybe you're gonna introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone, the viewers, panelists. My name is Godwin Ayata Odhiambo. I'm tuning in from Kenya, Homa Bay County. I'm a volunteer with another youth organization as a community primary healthcare champion. Yes, we sensitize the community. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Godwin. Charlene, jump on.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry wherever I am. I'm in a noisy and a messy place. I'm Charlene Ochano from Kenya, Siaya County, and I'm a baker. And I'm passionate on SDG #1, no poverty.
Welcome, Charlene. John, over to you.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and our dear viewers. My name is Mr. John Mutuku, and I'm connecting from South part of Kenya, Kwale County. I'm super excited to be part of this wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Welcome, John. Nice to see you.
I'm a banker. Sorry.
All right, banker. Welcome to the in the house. Barak, over to you. You are mute, Barak.
Good evening, guys. My name is Barak Ogada. I'm tuning in from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm passionate about SDG #4, access to quality education. I am a student of political science and sociology at the University of Nairobi. I'm a civic educator, and I'm happy to be here this evening. Thank you.
Welcome, Barak. George, over to you, and then Ruth, welcome.
Yes, good evening. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, George.
Good evening.
Okay. I'm George Alaka. I'm tuning in from Machakos. I'm passionate about SDG #3, good health and well-being. I'm a public health student. Back to you.
Thank you so much, George, for joining in. It seems like we have all public health specialists in the house today. I'm just excited. Ruth, jump on and introduce yourself. And by the way, if your camera is working, you may want to turn them on so we guys can connect as well. So Ruth, you want to jump on? All right.
Hello, everybody.
Carry on, Ruth.
It's good evening from here. My name is Ruth. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm a student in the University of Nigeria here. I'm very much excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
So Ruth, which sustainable development goal are you passionate about?
For me, I am very passionate about education. I'm passionate about unemployment, and I am equally passionate about climate change.
All right. So again, welcome everybody to today's session. You guys, you can see we got a big lineup right there. So if you are watching us live or you will watch this later and you got a question, you got anything you want to reach out to us on, remember to use our hashtag Molding for Work. And we do Football for Peace, and we got our LinkedIn, we got our Twitter account, and we got our WhatsApp number just for you guys to follow us on. So I know members are asking, maybe if you are meeting me for the first time, my name is Peter Omondi. I'm calling in from another part of the world, and probably my introduction will be simple. So probably I know members might have seen me somewhere. But looking at my introduction, my friends, as Peter, I stand for peace, hope, togetherness, and abundance for myself and others. I got a vision to end poverty in Africa. But I want you to imagine Africa, where 60 million children are deprived of food. 1.2 million of school-going age are out of school in Kenya and are involved in practices such as child labor to supplement their income. The end result of this that I want to achieve at the end of the day is to create a Kenya where every child has access to quality education where they want it and when they want it. Kenya, where every child has access to basic needs, living healthy life, enjoying their favorite sport wherever they are. But because of this is why, together with other friends, and including some of you who are in the house, I founded Global Youth Forum. Probably some of you might have known about Global Youth Forum. But Global Youth Forum is a community-based organization whose main aim is to eradicate poverty in Africa. And how we want to do this, we got our objective. And our objective is to equip young people with relevant skills to enable them create or secure an employment, live better lives through sports and volunteering. Our mission, obviously you guys, some of you have been part of us and you guys know our vision this far, to empower and develop youth by enhancing their potentials and ensuring they have necessary skills to either create a job or get a job. Our vision is to be a leading youth NGO in Africa, supporting young people in co-creating a better future for all. But then we got 4 pillars: education, adventures, and entrepreneurship. And why we want to have this conversation today, my friends, is how can we then co-create? We got statistics out there that tells us that the youth unemployment is very high in Africa. For example, if you look at the data, it says that approximately and even beyond, over 35 million people in Africa are unemployed. And 308 million people are in vulnerable jobs. That is purely in Africa. So probably you look at that in, say, in the next 5 years or 4 years, the people who are in vulnerable jobs will have even dropped to unemployment. And narrowing down to Kenya alone, and I know people who are in Nigeria and Uganda joining us today, you will share with us your statistics. But in Kenya, we have over 5.2 million youth who are unemployed. So this purely then brings us into this conversation where we are talking about, look, we have the youth and we have the employers. And both of them have reasons as to why the youth are not employed. And if we combine all these two, we are having something we are calling #MY2E. And that's why we are bringing this conversation today. So to dive right in, I'm just curious to have a quick round of ask. If somebody was to ask you, my friends, to state something like, what are your 10 reasons as to why you think youth are unemployed in Africa? What will these 10 reasons be? I will start with Godwin. Just really quick, just 10 reasons why you think youth unemployment is on the rise in Africa. Godwin, jump on.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't mention my SDG. My SDG I'm passionate about is climate change, climate action. That is SDG number 13. So my top 10 reasons, one is lack of required skills needed by the employers. 2, diseases outbreak, such as COVID-19, which affected our economy. 3, financial crisis, as financial of the country crumbles down, most of the people are laid off. and then a lot of requirements to access this government, the funds for startup capitals and also jobs. The scramble for white collar jobs, where youths now want the white collar jobs and leave this dual industry behind. Depressions among youth. Mental health has been a problem in every way, in every part of the country right now. I'm talking on behalf of Kenyans. I can put it as ego. Most of the youths are choosy. When you give them jobs, they say, no, I have a degree, I cannot do that. So such kind of attitude also affect youth employment. Technology is moving so fast that most of the youth cannot grow with the developing.
Godwin, really quick. Godwin, we will come to explanation really quick. Just name your top 10 reasons and then, yeah.
Number 10 is climate change.
Good. Thank you, Godwin. Let me now go to Mahmoud. Your top 10.
Yes, thank you so much, Peter. My top 10 reasons are basically one, skills mismatch, a lack of capital. We talk about scarce job opportunity versus population growth in Africa. Then we are talking about poor government policy and legislation. I know our youth have engaged them so much on drug addictions, peer influence, and its associated negative impacts. So also there's a poor learning curriculum that create job seekers rather than job creators. Then we have a lack of innovations and invention by the youth. Then there's an increasing political instabilities in Africa. Then the attitude of youth towards work. Then lastly, the technological advancements in Africa, which has rendered many of these youth jobless.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud, for sharing that. Let me go to John. John, do you want to jump on and give us your top 10 reasons?
Yes, Peter. We start with number 1, skills mismatch. Number 2, lack of access to capital. Number 3, fewer jobs than Africans. Number
Hang
4,
on, John. John, wait. John, your camera is upside down and you are too fast. We can't hear you as well. So you might want to start again. Now it is good. Now go step by step because viewers really want to hear you talk about these top 10 reasons. Okay.
Number 1, it is skills mismatch. Number 2, lack of access to capital, resources to set businesses, open businesses, expand businesses and so on. Number 3, we have fewer jobs than Africans. Number 4, we have guys voluntarily leaving the workforce. Number 5, we have job outsourcing. And number 6, lower consumer demand. Number 7, unfriendly business environment, an environment that doesn't facilitate, entrepreneurship. And number 8, we have, changes or advances in technology. And number 9, we talk about, lack of entrepreneurship and, life skills education. And number 10, and finally, new workers entering jobs each and every year, saturating the job market.
All right. Thanks so much, John. Charlene, jump on your top 10 reasons. All right. I can't hear Charlene. George, do you want to jump on? And then Ruth, I will come to you next.
Yes. My top 10 reasons. 1 is skill mismatch. 2nd is increase in technology. 3rd, increase in the rate of graduates. 4th, inadequate knowledge on skill on self-employment. 5, ignorance among the youths on the available opportunities. 6, lack of awareness on the sources of capital, e.g. the circles, which which are mostly in the community. 7 youths are of short-term benefits rather than long-term. 8 poor method of education, e.g., which is currently in Kenya. 9 youths are looking for white-collar jobs. 10 lack of capital for starting a business. Back to you.
Thank you so much, George. Ruth, how is it in Nigeria? What are your top 10 reasons why youth are unemployed in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much once again for having me here. So my 10 reasons why unemployment is at increase here is number one, most youth of today really believes that the government alone should be responsible for ending unemployment through subventions and job creation. So, and the second one is lack of skill. The third one is low trust of employers in the skill set and quality of young people available to work. The fourth one is young people seeking for jobs do not know how to apply for available jobs. Then we have lack of resources. We have information circulation problem about the labor market. Then most importantly, we have declining economic growth. Then we have lack of interest from youths on entrepreneurship. We have poor access to education and overpopulation caused by high birth rates. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Ruth, for that. Now we've heard from Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, and I know probably this might be universal reasons across the globe. But Elias, you touched on something on poor learning curriculum that creates job seekers than job creators. Would you love to tell us more about this in relation to Uganda?
Yes, yes, absolutely. You find in our institutions of learning, basically there are some curriculums that do not nurture our students to after school to really apply the skills that they have learned into really the actual world and have a gain. For example, if they will ask us to try to amend some of the curriculums, which looks to be a little bit irrelevant, we are learning, for example, geography of North America. We study maybe history of Europe. Some of these things, in the actual world, they are not very relevant to our work. So instead, many of the hand skills are not put into a practice. So some of these are one of the key elements that are killing many young people in Uganda particularly. So you find currently the president of Uganda is advocating so much on science because the government has a view that science is the only way of enhancing or of putting young people of the country onto the map, on to putting them on the hands-on skills to develop their capacities to build the country. So some of the curriculums are actually under review currently in Uganda, and very soon actually they are going to amend some of these curriculums. This is exactly even what the government has identified.
Right. Thank you so much, Mahmoud. So let me get to Godwin. Godwin, you touched on something on climate change, and you also touched on something on mental health. Could you tell us more about the issue on climate change and how it is causing an increase on youth unemployment in Africa?
Okay, thank you very much. Climate change affects all development on Earth's surface. So for now, if you look at how we are losing our economic resource base, especially the youth who are dependent on rainfall and agriculture or agribusiness. So these are our youths due to climate change. Most of the surplus and the farm produce has gone so down. Some farms are also gone dry where there's no the seasonal rivers. So it is very expensive for them to maintain the farm output. So climate change has affected the production in agricultural sector. So the youth who are employed at this sector, most of them have been laid off. Most of them, they cannot sustain the demand of the growing population. So most of the youth have been rendered jobless as they wait for the mercy of rainfall, especially the areas, the arid and semi-arid areas. Yes, thank you very much.
All right, well, good explanation there on how climate change have affected the agricultural sector and the power of this to employ a number of youth across Africa. Ruth, I know you touched on lack of skills. Would you love to give us like a classic example in relation to this and how it is creating youth unemployment, probably in Nigeria? Do you want to jump on and talk to us about that, Ruth?
Okay, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity. So lack of skill is actually a very big problem here. Why? Because, you know, most of the times we have opportunities, we see opportunities to apply for jobs. But then when we apply, we get to see that, or rather employers get to see that we do not have the sufficient skill to take that particular role. And without that skill, there is nothing we can do. And now, many people just depend on government job. They really do not go out there to seek skill acquisition, both soft and the hard. Which is very important in the labor market now. Because any youth growing up now without skills, I don't think people will get a job. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for sharing that one in terms of explaining about the skills and how that is creating youth unemployment. Let me jump down to John. John, I know you touched also on skills mismatch. How does this relate to youth unemployment in Kenya? I know Ruth also have touched on that. And now I want to hear about you as in Kenya. Do you have like a classic example you can share with us? John, over to you. And your camera, yeah, that's okay.
My camera is on.
Yeah.
Is my camera on? Thank you so much. Now, I did mention about skills mismatch. Now, first of all, before I even expound and tell you how this element does affect, you know, employment in Africa. Number one, we have to agree that we go to school to acquire education, or we go through a training system to gain knowledge, to gain understanding, so that we can solve certain critical problems or issues within our area of operation or our area of residence or in our respective countries. So, and a very good example that addresses this mismatch in as far as employment in Africa is concerned is that if you look at the education system, and I will use country Kenya as a very good example. If you look at the education system 10 years ago, and right away from you know, tertiary institutions, majority of them have not transformed despite the job market changing drastically each and every year. So you realize that people are going to acquire an education that was offered 10 years ago to gain knowledge, come and solve problems that are totally different from the problems that were solved by people who graduated 10 years ago. Now, if you look at a very good example, the banking industry, because that's where I'm working at the moment. How banks used to be operated in this country 20 years ago is totally different from how banks are being operated today. Yet the education that is offered in universities or colleges, it is the same education. So guys graduate or youth graduate, come in the job market with education that cannot solve the prevailing or the current problems or issues or challenges that they face us on daily occasion as far as banking is concerned. And employers will not settle for someone who cannot solve problems, someone who cannot solve issues to generate income for them. Remember very well, when you are hired, when you are employed in an organization, you are employed to solve a problem and at the end generate income for that respective organization. I hope I'm clear, Mr. Peter, and the rest of
All right.
members on board.
I think, John, you brought a very good point there where you stated that, look, universities and higher learning institutions are continuing to offer the education they were offering 20 years ago. And the market, of which like the employees employing people to solve problems, that is changing. That environment is totally changing. So probably I'm keen to bring George Alaka into the conversation where he talked about something on increase in technology. George Alaka, would you want to jump on and tell us how is increase in technology creating or increasing the level of youth that are unemployed in Kenya and probably Africa? George, jump on.
Okay, on increase in technology, how is it resulting to creating unemployment? You find that in agricultural sector, for example, there are a lot of innovation. For example, the use of machines. When there is use of machines, those youths who could be providing labor are now left out, which is also resulting to youth unemployment. Another thing you find that even in offices, in long term, you will find that there was so many work for the youth for even filing, things like that. But nowadays, there is an increase in technology in that there is a use of computer, which will file the documents, which that's resulting to low unemployment of youth.
Right.
Back to you.
So what George is trying to say, the manual jobs that used to be conducted by this youth, like filing and all this other thing, the technology has taken over, and this is also causing youth unemployment. So I think, George, you got a point there, but now I'm bringing Barak into this conversation. Barak, you did touch on something on poor policies. What are these policies that you think are causing or are creating youth not to be employed in Africa or probably Kenya? Do you want to jump on and shed more light along these lines, Barak?
Yes, I think policymakers, that is the government or the legislature, they serve their people by way of creating policies that can enhance development in a society. Looking at the African society, for example, take an example of the increase of technology. We know that Africa is not very high in technology. So technology comes from the global north. That is now the developed countries. But we've never had cases of unemployment in those areas. How comes we only have unemployment in Africa where technology is not really very high? It means that those people who come up with policies in the global north, they understand the needs of their people, and they come up with policies that will enhance the human development index, so that nobody will lack something to do. And in Africa, we find that government does not come up with policies that can enhance development of the people, of the youth, mostly who are the majority. Like, for example, in Kenya, every year universities and colleges channel out thousands and thousands of graduates who end up being jobless. This is because there are no policies in place to ensure that when the youth are in the university or in the colleges, there is no absorption policy where maybe they are matched with the industries or the corporate world, to ensure that once they graduate, they are absorbed so that they can become productive to themselves and also to the country. So that is where I think we have a problem. We need to ensure that those policymakers should ensure that they come up with policies to ensure that once youth is in school, they'll be absorbed once they graduate, so that they don't tarmac or become jobless in the society.
Right. Barak is bringing a really good point there in terms of, like, let's say you go to university, you graduate, you don't have a job. How can we make probably policies to ensure that the graduates are fit into the market and then they are matched into corporate organization that will give them jobs? I know, Godwin, you did touch on something on COVID-19 pandemic. And probably, maybe this might be probably obvious to other people, but I know you might have some deep insights that other people from other parts of the world might not have. So you might want to jump on and tell us, or people who will watch this a little bit later or are watching us online, how has COVID-19 created an increase on youth unemployment in Kenya and Africa at large?
Yes, COVID-19, when it broke out in Kenya on 13th March 2020, it brought a lot of panic and also economic constraint when people were asked to work from home. Working from home was not sustainable for long, especially for the youths who are on casual basis. So most of the youths were on both private sector, also government, and they were on casual basis, were asked to, they were laid off. That gave a lot of depression to some of the young people who are casuals, because now it is in the middle of a pandemic, and now you are also jobless. You are staying at home. You don't go to casual work like Diego. Yeah, you can't go and get something in the market if it is not a food stuff. You have to stay at home and keep the social distance. So at this point, most of the people who lost their job and the employers in the private sectors who could also not sustain these large employees, especially the youth, because of the economic constraint they had at that point, low produce, low sell. So at that point, most of the youth lost job, and you couldn't even get a job because people are being asked to go home. Where will you get a job? You are a fresh graduate. You have to wait. So that at that point also triggers a lot of mental health issues, especially to these young people. Like me personally, I was a victim at that point. I used to work in a private company. It is educational sector. So we were laid off. We were around 30 of us. So we didn't go get our job back till today. So at that point, it needed a lot of mental health counseling for us to cope up with the situation at that point. So on connecting it to the mental health is part of health system that affect us in our daily life, both emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we feel, how we act, how we also socialize with other people in our workplaces, in our communities. So this also affects people in getting job. You hire someone at home, they have a lot of expectation from the society, from the family, from the partners. So at this point, this person is coming at work very depressed, very stressful, and productivity is also going down. And at this point, you might be asked to leave the job. It is not your fault. It is the mental health breakdown that you are having that is affecting your productivity, and also the way of you thinking outside the box. What do I do with my life now? You are hiring someone who is who has a suicide thought in my mind. Everything I do, I'm seeing people don't appreciate. I'm looking for a job. This job also is giving me this stressful moment. I can't live, balance the social life and economic life. So all that affect our ability to be productive in this employment sectors, which made most of the youth to be jobless mostly. Yeah.
Right. I think Godwin, you got a point. I haven't even just thought about that really quick, but it ties down to what John was speaking about when he was saying, look, companies employ people so that you can solve problems. And when you solve problems, you are probably creating more income or creating revenue to the company. But here you have a youth who is mentally unwell. Will they solve these problems? Will they be creative? And I'm just now trying to think about your point deeply, and it makes a lot of sense. So probably it's the right time to bring Elias into this conversation. Elias, you talked about lack of innovation and invention by the youth. Would you love to dive more deep into this? Because Godwin have just started that topic for you. Jump on, Mahmoud.
My network is disturbing. Can you say it again?
Right. So what I'm saying, you did touch on something that the youth lack innovation and invention. So tell us how this is creating more of young people to be unemployed in Africa.
Yes, thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, actually, due to a lot of challenges that are happening in Africa, perhaps maybe let's narrow it down in Uganda, the political instabilities, the chaos, refugees influx and movement, etc. You find with the skills mismatch and with the poor education level in the country, and then the curriculum. So you find young people are unable to make innovations, self-innovations that can sell out, that can really help them to showcase their talent. So this really affects so much in bringing out the productive part of the young persons all over Africa. So how I wish that young persons all over the country, all over Africa, really narrow themselves in one of the key things that they know more. And then they put a lot of effort in it, and then they practice and make it better. But you find, like in Uganda, our youth are engaged in drug addictions. They engage in all other activities that are very unhealthy enough. They forget to initiate productive initiatives that can really nurture out their talents. So that's only what I can put forward to you.
Right. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Mahmoud. The effect of drugs on the performance of young people, effects of drugs on the creativity, and then problem-solving capabilities of young people, how that is contributing to youth unemployment. So I'm bringing Ruth into this conversation. Ruth, you talked about poor access to education. Maybe I'm not in Nigeria, I'm sat somewhere in another country, chilling and just enjoying life. How is poor education poor access to education creating or increasing the number of youth that are out of employment? Do you want to jump on and talk to us about that, Ruth?
All right. Thank you again, I must say, and I'm very excited towards this question. So,
Ruth, if your camera can be on, that will be good, so we can connect the voice to the talk as well. That will be really good.
Sorry, you said?
Your camera, if it can be on, that can be really good.
Okay. So currently we have about 151 youths here in Nigeria. That's out of the whole population in Nigeria. We have about 151% who are youths alone. And about 2.9 million of Nigeria are unemployed. And believe me that all of them are graduates. Okay. Apart from that, we also have a lot of persons who are out of school. Like for now, currently, according to United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that's UNESCO, we have about 20 million children that are at schools now. So imagine that we have about 2 million children that are at school. What really happens? And as the record population is increasing, so this is actually one of the major causes of unemployment. High birth rate, which is inculcated by this. Yes, I think that's it.
Right. Thank you so much, Ruth, for sharing that, the population increase. So probably I'm bringing George Alaka into this conversation. George, you touched on a number of increase in the number of graduates. How does this relate to what Ruth is saying and how it is contributing to youth unemployment in Africa? George, you want to jump on? So as George prepares to jump on, I see Julius Ouma, who is saying, this saying that goes, that youth are the leaders of tomorrow is a big problem in our country. So Barak, as George prepares, Barak, I know you touched on over dependency. Do you want to jump on and talk to us? George, Georgia will come back to you later, but Barak, jump on.
Well, I spoke about overdependency because you find that majority of the youths in Africa, they just want to go to Europe, to America, to look for opportunities. So there's this mindset that we can only be prosper when we go to the first world countries like the American and the Europe. And we forget that we can work hard in Africa and make Africa great. So that is a problem that must be addressed because it is affect the minds of the youth and it limits their ability to grow themselves in Africa. Yeah.
I think Barak, that one you nailed it. It is, sometimes they say the grass might not be green on the other side. So I will leave you guys to think about that. George, are you back in there to talk to us about increase in graduates? So as George still prepares, I know, John, you touched on something, fewer jobs than the applications. Do you want to talk to us more about this? Because for me, probably I see a lot of jobs, but few applicants. So you want to justify your statement along those lines?
Yes, Mr. Peter. Can you hear me, Mr. Peter?
Yes.
All right. Now, I did, of course, mention about fewer jobs than applicants. Now, it is estimated that approximately 12 million people get or enter in the job market each and every year across Africa. Right. Now, if you compare that number against the number of opportunities in terms of employment that are created each and every year, it's a fraction. Are we together? So we are discharging all the education systems or systems of learning, systems of training. They are discharging an variable number of employees and variable number of potential employees and the employment sector can accommodate, can handle. And when we draw in other elements such as lack of capital, lack of resources to expand the existing systems and facilities to create more opportunities, then that becomes a crazy thing. Having approximately 12 million people chasing for approximately a million job opportunities. And now that makes me drag in what was said by one of us that people youth are yearning to travel overseas to go and seek for opportunities. Now, I'm not against this point. Is a good point, and that is very important. I mean, people should realize that Africa is beautiful, and we could create an empire down here, as opposed to traveling overseas to look for opportunities. But then I want us to agree on this particular very important thing, that there is no need of you staying in a place where you will never get opportunity. And yet you spend 4 years, your parents, people who are responsible in educating you have pumped in your education millions of shillings to give you skills, to give you education so that you can be a productive member of society. member of the society, but then you don't get an opportunity to showcase your skills, to showcase your ability, or to practice what you studied. Then you look for a way out. You look for a possible place that will offer you that particular opportunity. So, Peter, there is a crazy discharge of, potential employees compared to what the prevailing or what the current employers can offer. And that's a fact. It is in public domains, and that goes unopposed. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, George. I'm not sure if, George, you are able again to unmute and talk to us about a point that you talked about, ignorance of youth on the opportunities. If you are able to unmute and just talk to us about that point, that will be really great. And for members joining us online, great comments coming along. We will read them as we move along. So keep them coming. George, over to you. Ignorance of youth on the opportunities.
On talking about the ignorance of youths about the available opportunities, is that, for example, you may find that there are some organizations, e.g., the NGOs, Ways Funds, Youth Enterprise Funds, Women Enterprises Funds. They are available in the community, but the youths can't find something. They can't be aware. They can initiate that ability to come up with the idea so that they may try to source funds from these organizations. They just stay there, even offering the services like volunteering. Because when a youth volunteer, you will gain experience. And through experience, you connect with the outside world. And those are the sources of a youth getting employment. But if the youths are not aware of that, they are just saying volunteering won't help. In that, they are ignorant. They are lazy. So, to me, I can just tell the youth that they should avoid the laziness. They should embrace the hard work, because through volunteering, you will get something. Back to you.
Thank you so much, George. Youth, you are being encouraged by George not to be lazy and to take initiatives and just go out there and do stuff. Godwin, I know this is outside your top three, but I know that somebody like John will talk about lack of access to capital. But I know on your points you did touch on this particular topic. How is this creating youth unemployment in Kenya and probably across Africa? What are your thoughts, deep insights in relation to lack of capital for the youth?
All right. Yes, we are being trained in schools, in the universities, to be a problem solver. Be creative enough. You create a job for others also. You'll be an employer someday as an entrepreneur. This cannot, they say this can be just an idea without a capital to start it. The starting point is very important for you to move ahead, make your ideas into a venture, into a business, and also employ others. So capital access, sometimes it becomes very challenging, and a lot of process is needed for you to obtain a capital, especially from these lenders. Maybe you need a title deed. You are afraid from graduate. You are living in a community land which is owned by the parent. You are needed a group certificate. You need to register for this certificate also. Maybe this capital is not there. So access to capital is very important for a business startup. And capital is not just for startup. You need a sustainable way of how you will maintain, you will purchase, and also you will spend on this for you to grow step by step as you develop in the process. Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. The lack of capital and so many other things. I know I will do 2 more, and then we will come now to what you think can be possible solutions. So I will go, Barak and Mohamudi will have last chance. But Barak, you did touch on something on job discriminations, that some youth are being discriminated in relation to jobs. Would you really want to jump on and talk to us on, say, less than a minute about this on specific example?
No, I think I meant that youths are discriminating some jobs. Like, for example, after coming out of school, they think that they cannot do certain jobs. So this really discourages them, or so that they can stay for long without jobs. So I will encourage the youth that just take what is available and work and progress from there. If you see these successful people, they did not start where they are. They started from somewhere. Maybe you did a Bachelor of Commerce, and you say, okay, maybe I cannot do a certain job. I have to work within my area of specialization. This really discourages other many youths from working. And I think even if you go to Juakali sector, people prosper in Juakali sector. So I encourage the youth that just take what's available, and this will ensure that many youths have something to do instead of just being idle and saying that there's nothing to do.
Right. Thank you so much for that. So Muhammad, you get the last chance, but then Rutha will come to you as the first one when we get to the next segment. I know we will do 5 extra minutes. But Elias, you did touch in terms of your top 10 when you outlined them, poor government policy and legislation. Do you have a specific example that you can relate or you can share that is causing youth unemployment to increase in Africa as per Uganda, as far as Uganda is concerned?
Yes, thank you so much, Peter. You know, for an effective activities or any other effort in a country, there must be a good legislation by our, the parliamentarians. They put measures in place that can support young people to engage in numerous activities. For example, now currently, this has been identified as a key area where young people are not really so much support. So you find the government of Uganda now are engaging themselves in some activities that are going to support the marginalized, like the youth, the elderly, the women, etc. So, legislations, as I earlier on alluded, it is one of the key components. Most of the government's financing focuses are not always on the youth. That's why you can see many of the riots, many of the the protests in majority like these countries everywhere are the youth. Take an example in South Africa. Right now, many of the youth are the one under
I'm not able to hear Elias. Maybe his internet is wrong.
Because
carry on,
Mahmoud. Activities that are in place are not. So I cited one of the example. Can you guys all get me well now?
Yeah.
So I cited one of the example. For example, right now in South Africa, you find
all right. So Elias, I will come back to you later. Sorry.
In South Africa.
Sorry,
many of the participants in the protests
stop.
are actually youth.
We can't hear you really well. Your internet is bad, but we'll come back to you later. But now we get into this segment where we are almost coming to the end. I know we need a 2-hour conversation about this topic, but we just wanted to start it a little bit, sort of. So because Godwin, I can see your camera is on. If somebody was to ask you that we just don't want to talk, we want to talk as young people, but then we want to take actions. And you had your top 3, climate change, mental health, depression, COVID-19 pandemic. Can you choose one of these problems and propose one solution that can be implemented to solve this issue as an individual or as a young person in Kenya?
Yes, I will choose climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So a climate change, as much as it brought a lot of panic and crisis, climate change has also come with the opportunity for young people. Currently, our president, Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is committed in climate change initiative that is based for young people. So young people, youths should ride on this initiative of 15 billion trees by establishing a tree nursery in a community based, so that when these tree seedlings will be needed, they have a ready market from the government, who will be purchasing these tree seedlings to be planted in public institution and any other. So youth should ride along and take advantage of this opportunity which is given to them for climate adaptation and mitigation. Thank you.
Right. So my youth, establish your tree nurseries, make income, and protect climate change. That's a really solid one. Let me go to Ruth. Ruth, you stated some 3 topics: lack of skills, poor access to education, and then it was the government's role to give young people jobs. So choose one and then give us your possible solution.
Oh, sorry, I don't know, I've been talking to myself. Okay, I'm going to choose my number 1 point, which is the youths today suddenly placing all their hope on government for job creation. So to curb this, I believe the youth of today should know that population increases in geometrical ratio, and it does that almost every day. So there is no how that government can assure us 100% employment and it gets to everybody. So the best thing we could do is to embrace entrepreneurship, skill acquisition by all. And this should be added to our curriculum, starting from the grassroots. I believe when we start from the scratch, when we start from the foundation, it is definitely going to go a long way. So that even if we do not have, or some of us may not be able to afford money for the university level of education, then they can be able to stand by themselves and be economically self-reliant. I think this is very important, so that by tomorrow, they would not have to cry over what they know that could be handled. So the best solution for this is to embrace entrepreneurship. That is it for me.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for highlighting that entrepreneurship to be embraced at the grassroots level, so that people can acquire skills and start their own businesses so that they don't depend on the government. Who was to go next? George, you are next. You did touch on 3 points, George, and your points were increase in graduates, ignorance of youth on the opportunities, and the increase in technology. Choose one and tell us a possible solution to that one that you will have chosen.
Okay, allow me to choose ignorance of youths. On talking about the ignorance of youths, I will encourage youth to start by acting with the activity which they can offer in their community. Through this, those youths will create the connection, and creating the connection, they will improve their skills in offering those services. And another thing, what I can remind them is that Ken Robinson once said that what you do for yourself dies with you, and what you do for others live forever. So the things they will offer to other people in the community will last than what they will do for themselves. So they use the services, they volunteer to the community before they get that employment so that they may be able to create self-employment within their community.
Right. Thank you so much, George. George says, give services to the community. In return, you will get skills that will help you get something that will probably help end youth unemployment in Africa. Thank you, George. So I'm going to Barak. Barak, you did touch on a number of things: education system, poor policies, and overdependency. Choose one and give us a possible solution to that one that we'll have chosen.
I think I will go for education system. Africa, we just have to cover our education system that is working for our society. We need to ensure that when we take children to school, once they are channeled out of the education system, they are able to become productive to themselves, and they are able to be absorbed within the society that we have, so that they can continue developing the country. So we have to change our education system. Once we do that, I think we will have solved the biggest problem that is facing our generation. And that, I think, that is what the Western countries did, and that's why you see that the technology is increasing there. They have a lot of jobs, and they're even absorbing people from third world countries. Therefore, we just have to restructure our education system so that it start working for us as a society. Thank you.
All right, Barak says, let us have an education system that works for the people and by the people. That, not my words, but I'm just summarizing what Barak did say. Thanks, Barak, for that, because you highlighted of connecting these graduates to job, and I think you got a good proposal there. John, over to you. John, are you able to hear us? So you did touch on three things as well, John: skills mismatch, lack of access to capital, and fewer jobs than applicants. So choose one and give us a possible solution that you might have as a youth in Africa.
Peter will go for skills mismatch. And like I mentioned earlier on, is that one of the critical problems that is eating most of the youth, and end up, getting frustrated because they cannot land on employment or they cannot land on job after graduating, is because they have no, skills that can, match with the very, very problems that various employers they are looking for in the job market. And my very, very good advice, and I wish that all head of states in this continent had an opportunity to listen to me this evening. Let us involve employers when we are, formulating, policies that have to do with, setting education systems. Because at the end of the day, these people leave colleges to go and serve a particular employer in the job market. They leave colleges to go and set businesses, or go and partner with people who are doing businesses and run entities as business partners or associates. So I think the most important thing that should be done is that when we are formulating education policies, let us have stakeholders such as employers, organizations. Let us have established entrepreneurs brought on board to tell exactly what are the prevailing challenges in the job market, in the business market, to help us come up with policies and education systems that will design, that will manufacture graduates who can go outside there and solve problems, and at the end of the day, make an income and make their communities transform positively. Are we together? Yeah. So most importantly, what really amazes me is a graduate who has been in the university for 4 years studying entrepreneurship, but can hardly manage a kiosk. So where exactly are we heading? If you've been studying a business course, and in particular entrepreneurship, but you cannot run your mom's, your dad's kiosk, given it in a month's time, it's running in losses. You're making losses for it. What is the problem? The problem is this: the education system we are having, it is not serving the needs of the job market. And that's why we are having graduates who cannot add any significant change in our environment. And at the end of the day, we will not disagree with this mere fact that the reason as why we exist is to initiate a positive change in our area of residence, or to initiate a positive change that is going to affect positively the human race. So back to you, Mr. Peter.
All right, point well taken there. So it's summarizing what you have stated. The designers of the curriculum should work with the employer so that they come with a program that will solve solution, that will provide solutions to community challenges. I know, Elias, your internet was bad, but guys, we will do 8:15. That's really fine, because this conversation is really key at what we are looking to do as we move forward as Global Youth Forum. So Elias, what we are asking, you did touch on 3 things, Elias, and your 3 things were poor government policy and legislation, lack of innovation and invention by the youth, and then the poor learning curriculum that creates job seekers than job creators. So choose one and give us a possible solution that you might have as a youth in Africa. Yeah, unmute. Unmute, Elias, and just talk.
Like if I'm to choose one, actually I'll go with the, yes, can you get me?
Yes.
Can you all hear me now? Yeah, so I was saying, basically for me, I will go with government policy and legislation, because government have to come up in the rescue of the young people by putting up some system in place. Maybe that will support them in terms of giving them capital to start up business, buying up their innovations, giving them support, and then etc. And then minus the government minus the government prioritizing on the young people, there will be a very poor base of young people all over the country. So I stand with that.
All right. Thank you so much. But now this round one, I'm going to give somebody just 3 seconds to just tell us what change do you want to see in the world. For example, I will start with Godwin. So for me, I want to eradicate poverty. And by doing what I do in terms of getting young people gain the skills, start their business, or get their jobs, I will be working to eradicate poverty. What change do you want to see as an individual moving into the future? Let me start with Godwin. 4 to 5 seconds.
Yes, the change I would want in the world is climate action. Now, why am I saying this? Food system, our health system depend on healthy and wealthy environment. We take care of our environment, we take care of ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Godwin. Really nice. Look after the environment, then it will look after us. John. Okay, John, jump on. Yep.
Yeah, what I want to see the world end up being, I want to see, a world that is characterized with smart people who look at, look on problems and, develop a quick way of solving them in an easy way. Yeah, I don't like people who struggle to solve problems. I like people, who view problems and come up very quickly with, solutions. And that's where I want to see the world ending up being.
All right, a world of problem solvers and solution givers. Let me go to George Alaka. Over to you, George. What change do you want to see in the world? And then Barak, jump on. I see George is still not with us. So Barak, you want to jump on?
Yes, the change that I want to see in the world is to see the world where humanity comes first, the world where peace, love, and unity is the order of the day.
Okay, humanity, peace, love, and unity, order of the day. I will go read the national anthem again. Thanks, Barak. Ruth, and then I come to you, Mahmoud, to bring us home.
Okay, for me, the change I really want to see is, I think there should be contribution in making the attitudinal transformation possible, like through creating a viable economic ecosystem that places less emphasis on government jobs and more on entrepreneurship and enterprise. And for us to attain this, I think young people should be encouraged to innovate and contribute their quota to the nation's development. The current monolithic approach to education acquisition must be changed. We need to change that. We need to encourage technical education and innovation, and adaptation centers should also be encouraged. Thank you.
All right, there we go. You guys, entrepreneurship is being stressed here. Technical and vocational training, the government, the mentality of people that government can solve our issues really need to change. Thank you so much, Ruth. Mahmoud, what change do you want to see in the world?
Yes, me?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, actually the change that I will wish to see in place is actually investing onto the young people, and secondly, peace building. Because if you see, without peace, almost all what you are talking about will be absent, will actually not take place well. For example, now you are seeing a lot of instabilities that will create more unemployment, that will create more suffering, that will create hunger, that will create, poor education that you are talking about. So I am vying for peace and love.
All right, peace and love across the world. So guys, as we bring this home, I must say thank you everybody for creating time, and mine will be no pain, no gain. Be stronger than your excuses. Don't wish for it, work for it, and never give up. So with that, I bring everything home, and I will just say, guys, you did really well, and that was a great conversation, and we'll surely implement ideas that you guys have, and we'll bring you to a conversation for the next stage of this. So if you want to stay back